Hey, hello, and welcome back to part 2 of Student of the Gun Radio, and I am your happy host. That's right, Paul Markle here. I am a happy host, and why am I a happy host, you might ask? Well, thank you for asking. I appreciate your interest in my life. I'm a happy host because during the show break, we got contacted by, or I got contacted by, American Airlines. And guess what, folks? They found my bag. I'm a happy camper. So now I am in possession once again of the bag that I last saw 4 days ago. So good. All my goodies, all my stuff from my trip, and my GAT is back with me safe and sound. So we're all happy campers here at Student of the Gun. Now, before we dive into it, we want to make sure, just in case you just caught this part of the episode, we want to make sure that we're thanking all of our buddies up there. Trent Cooper. Trent is my buddy, and he is my ninja up at Crossbreed Holsters in Republic, Missouri. So check them out. Crossbreedholsters.com. It's really easy. Keltec Weapons. And Keltec, we're looking forward to seeing all of our friends at the upcoming SHOT Show. And I talked to Derek the other day, and he said that they've redesigned the SHOT Show booth. Usually it's a madhouse in the Keltec booth. It's just elbow to elbow, and people are trying to buy the KSGs there at the show. And they're like, I'll buy this one. And I'm like, dude, it's a show model. No, I'll just buy it. Like, no, I'm sorry, you cannot buy the show model. So our buddies down there at Keltec Weapons in Cocoa, Florida, check them out. Now, we don't want to forget about our good buddies, XS Sights up in Fort Worth, Texas, in the Republic of Texas. And we did just spend some time with them. I spent some time with the folks up there at XS. And they've got a lot of XS Sights. I'm going to tell you guys this. If you know anything about them, if you're familiar with them, and you like their products, you'll be happy because they've actually just expanded their production facility. They bought new CNC machines. They rented a new facility like right next door to their original plant so they can expand their production. So they're getting ready to ramp up for some really cool new stuff for 2014. And also, if you caught episode 1 or part 1 of this episode, you'll know that we're welcoming our friends Colt Manufacturing, the ones that make Colt Single Action Armies and Colt 1911s and Colt AR-15 rifles. Colt Manufacturing is our newest sponsor on Student of the Gun Radio, and we want to welcome them and thank them for being part of the Student of the Gun family. Now, we didn't get a chance to do this last week because last week we were at our super secret studio somewhere in the heart of the Republic of Texas. But this week, we're back in our home studios, and we want to give the boy wonder over there on the other side of the board, we want to give him an opportunity to talk about his visit. Yes, we waited until he had gone and returned safely because we didn't want to put the news out while he was out there, out in slave state America. But Jared recently took a quick trip. He did a little slave state recon, and he explored a little bit, and he was able to see the difference between free America and slave state America. And so what Jared's going to do is he's going to take a little time, and he's going to tell us just exactly what he saw and what he experienced when he went up to slave state America.
Teach you all the rules. I get to see them set in stone. I like it when you chain me to the bed, but then you see.
All right, dudes and dudettes. Listen closely. I'm relatively young. I'm 23 years old. And so I've not really had a chance to get to the slave state region of the United States. And thank the Lord, because I don't plan on going back anytime soon. I believe I've traveled up to New Jersey, and I regret it. I do.
Be honest without being profane.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to very meticulously form my sentence here. But I went up to New Jersey because a friend of mine, a very good friend, he got stationed up there in New Jersey, so he needed his stuff brought to him, his furniture, etc. So I put it in a Chevy Suburban and drove it up there to him with his brother and his sister. And along the way, I believe Virginia was probably the last free state that I was in. And no kidding, immediately, as soon as I left free America, there was a gas station. And this was my first hint that I wasn't in free America anymore. The gas station had big, giant sign on the outside that said something along the lines of cigar shop, vaping. It was like a smoke shop, and it wasn't real cigars. It was the freaking cigarellos and all that kind of stuff. Oh,
blunts, grape blunts.
Yeah, they had the grape blunts. They had bongs, which were for use for tobacco. And then they had these gas masks that had bongs attached to them, but it was for vaping.
For vaping.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, this big sign was on the outside of this gas station, and directly underneath that sign was a sign that said EBT accepted. And I was like, why would you accept EBT at this particular gas station? Because I walked in there and there was literally 2 shelves that actually had food on them. Oh, and it was bags of chips and all that kind of stuff. There wasn't any actual food that you would prepare for your family there.
So what, you don't think that people on EBT should be allowed to own chips? What are you racist? Are you trying to force your way of eating onto people? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm like Bloomberg up there. You should only have 10-ounce sodas or whatever.
So you got a whole head shop full of bongs and vaping stuff that takes EBT, and then you have a couple shelves of potato chips and ding dongs and ho-hos.
Yeah, and that was literally immediately as I left Free America.
Well, there are certain things that you can imbibe into your body that makes you really want to be buying the ding dongs and the Doritos and the ho-hos and the stuff. So maybe they're just trying to hook a brother up, give them a break.
They're definitely trying to hook a brother up there. And in addition to that experience, my voice is saddened now because I'm now in the non-Free America. The rest of the trip up there, it was nice to see my friend, but the area was a crap hole, to say the least. The houses on top of houses, cars on top of cars. I had to parallel park a freaking 3-row Suburban. That was not fun. But and we went over to Manhattan while I was up there, just so I could experience the rats, I guess you'd say.
Did you go to Ground Zero?
Yeah, we went to Ground Zero. Oh, they wouldn't let me in because I had a folding knife.
You had a folding pocket knife on you?
Yeah.
You're lucky you're not in a New York prison right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
Don't you know? You peasants are not allowed to possess sharp objects. Peasants could hurt themselves with sharp objects.
Speaking of peasants, the thing that really annoyed me was they wouldn't let me in because I had a pocket knife, right? Well, my friend who was in the military, he also had a pocket knife, and they didn't let him in at this instance because after they wouldn't let me in, we just didn't go in. But he said previously to that instance, they let him in because he was a part of the military. So he was the ruling class, and he could take his knife in there.
It was all right for him to have a folding pocket knife because obviously he was trained in the proper use of a folding pocket knife, whereas you, as a peasant, were not.
Yeah, but they don't know me. They don't know who I am. They don't know my trials and tribulations.
Well, they know that you're an out-of-state peasant and you should not be allowed. Come on, man. Get with the program.
I actually did enjoy one part of that trip, and it was, besides not being able to go to the actual Ground Zero, we went to the 9/11 Memorial Museum, and it was actually very touching and it was a very heartfelt environment. They had this video that they played on the screen. I don't know if you've been there before. You've probably seen it. But they basically went around interviewing families of people that were affected and all that kind of stuff. And it was a sad video, and it really makes you realize how strong a nation can be in a time of need like that. Well,
I've not been because I'm not allowed in the People's Republic of New York or New Jersey. No, I'm teasing. It's not that I'm not allowed, but part of the problem is that by law, you go to these places, and if you are from Free America, I'm proud of you, though, Jared. You didn't go to the Empire State Building and ask the security guard where you could check your gun.
No, I just stuck it under the mattress.
Yes.
Or the cushion
the
or
cushion.
whatever it was.
Yeah, if you guys don't know that story, some knucklehead from Tennessee went up there and he saw the sign that said no concealed carry firearms allowed or no firearms allowed. So he asked him where he could check his, and they promptly, it was a guy, and I know what it was. No, he didn't ask him. he went ahead and just took it out and stuck it under a cushion in the seat and thought it would be a good idea. It was a woman who was going to the 9/11 memorial who actually saw the no weapon sign. Then she asked the guy where she could check her concealed carry gun, and they promptly arrested her and charged her. So just so you know. But yeah, we sent Jared out on a little recon mission. So yes, I have previously been to New York City. I've previously been through the uppermost part of New Jersey, and I've been to Philadelphia and places like that. I've even been to Connecticut, for Pete's sake, and Massachusetts too. I probably won't be going back there anytime soon, but I've been there. And for those of you out there in the listening audience that are currently residing in one of these states, you know, everybody has choices to make, and you have to live with the decisions you make. And if you're comfortable being, you know, a tax slave and being, you know, as a gun owner, being considered suspect, and that's something that you cannot get around. You can excuse it. You can say, oh, it's not that bad, but the facts are the facts. And there are certain jurisdictions, certain areas in the United States of America that if you are a gun owner, you are treated worse than a convicted criminal. Convicted felons have more rights than gun owners in places like Massachusetts, New York City, New York State, New Jersey, California. People that are, heck, convicted felons have attorneys. You know, they have to be careful how they deal with convicted felons because they know they have attorneys, and if they do things wrong, they could get in trouble. But you gun owners, forget you, buddy. But we're going to move on past Jared's little. Jared is safe and sound and back in free America now. He's got a gun on lawfully. Oh, Jared, you know what I heard?
What?
There was a man with a gun somewhere in the vicinity.
Oh, was there?
I heard a report.
You know, I think I know exactly who you're talking about.
There was a man with a gun.
Yeah, a man with a gun.
A person. We don't want to say man or woman because that singles people out. So we say person. Yeah, down here in free America, there's a person with a gun in the vicinity. Should we be scared?
I feel pretty safe.
I feel pretty safe too. I think we're good here down here. But let's talk about what happens when you decide that you want to go ahead and be a scumbag, and what is the price that you pay for being a scumbag? Jared, go ahead and give us the lead in on this one.
The price you pay for being a scumbag at a dollar store could be getting shot.
Okay, and this was in our sister state of Alabama. And it turned out that Johnny Scumbag decided it would be a good idea to rob a dollar store. Is it Family Dollar, Dollar Store, Dollar Tree, whatever? Family Dollar. Yeah, that's it. For those of you who don't know, there's lots of stores down here that have the word dollar in them. Ironically, the ironic thing about the dollar store is you can go to the evil empire and pay 88 cents for it, or you can go to the dollar store and pay $1 for it. But well, Johnny Scumbag decided that he was going to go ahead and rob a Family Dollar store. Well, a person with a concealed carry permit saw Johnny Scumbag robbing the dollar store, produced their legally carried and concealed, easy for me to say, pistol, and they shot the robber. They shot Johnny Scumbag. And you're like, well, rock on, dude. That's the way it should be. If you decide to participate in felonious activities, you decide that that's for you, you know, robbing people and being a felon that's for you. Well, one of the risks of your chosen career is being ventilated by the good guys. Well, Johnny Scumbag got ventilated by the good guys. And Johnny, this is the crazy thing, is there is no shame in certain parts of this nation, in certain areas, certain enclaves of the United States of America. There's no shame. It used to be back in the olden times when we rode dinosaurs to school to buy our Betamax machines. Back in the old days when we were listening to 8-track tapes, if a person in your family was a felon, you usually were kind of ashamed. You didn't talk about it. And you're like, yeah, our cousin Bobby is he's in jail, but we don't talk about Bobby because he's an embarrassment to the family. Well, apparently in modern America, having a person in your family who is a robber, thief, scumbag is not an embarrassment. As a matter of fact, it's just what you do. Well, the family of Johnny Scumbag that got ventilated, they went out in public to complain that he shouldn't have been shot just for robbing the dollar store.
You want to know what really surprised me about this story?
What surprised you?
The person robbing the store, it wasn't his first time doing that.
What?
That surprised me.
You're telling me that this guy, that got ventilated here, that he was a recidivist criminal?
That's unheard of.
Now, come on. Come on now. So, yeah, Johnny recidivist criminal got shot multiple times. Now, did Johnny recidivist criminal expire, or is he still in critical condition?
He's waiting in a hospital to swap out a hospital bed for a jail bed.
Ah, okay. So, Johnny Scumbag was shot. It says the concealed carrier fired 5 times. And people are like, oh, 5 times. Well, 5 times isn't that much. Because what do we know about 5 times? Well, apparently Johnny Scumbag was shot 5 times in various parts of his scumbag body and did not expire. And you're like, okay, well, that's no big deal. No, the good news is Johnny Scumbag stopped being a bad person at that moment. He stopped committing felonies, and he was taken into custody, en route to the hospital. But what do we know about firearms? What have we said previously? If you know you need to fight with a gun, you take a long gun. You take a rifle or a shotgun. We carry handguns because they're convenient. And this begs the question. People have said, well, how many rounds is enough? I mean, isn't 5 enough? Shouldn't you only carry 5 or 6 or 4 or 2 or whatever?
Well, if you can't do it with 5, you probably can't do it at all.
Well, if you can't do it with 2, our one of our favorite gun shop euphemisms that was offered by the expert on the other side of the counter to a woman who was buying her very first protection gun was he wanted her to buy a J-frame Smith & Wesson, and when she asked him how many rounds it held, his answer was, well, it only holds 5, but if you can't get the job done with 2 or 3, then you probably can't get the job done. So don't worry about how many rounds a gun holds. Am I telling you need 30? No, I'm not telling you need 30. But what I'm telling you is that when the flag goes up, you aren't going to know how many. No one is going to send you a postcard and say, tomorrow I'm going to attack you and you will need 4 rounds. It does not work that way. And also, don't forget, you do not get penalized for having rounds left over at the end of the fight. This isn't a video game, or it's not, we're not playing a card game where if you have so many cards left in your hand, you deduct points. If you have a Glock 19, a G19, and you start out with 15 and you finish the fight with 10, you don't get penalized for those extra 10 rounds. You're still good to go. So remember that. When do you stop shooting, Jared? If you have to engage a bad person with a firearm, at what point in time do you stop shooting your gun?
When they stop doing what they were doing.
When they are no longer a threat to you or anyone else. Now, here's the trick, ladies and gentlemen. The trick is when the fight begins, you will not know. You mean you don't get a postcard? People don't have little scorecards on them that says, Felon A will take 2 rounds, Felon B will take 3, and Felon C will take 7 rounds to stop. You don't know. You don't know it. So you shoot until they stop trying to harm you. And in this case, it was 5. That was the magic number. So, yeah, we just thought you'd find that interesting that go team moment, go team over there in Alabama, where they ventilated the Family Dollar robber. And also, I guess it's kind of a go team and a douche nozzle moment at the same time, because if your kid is a scumbag, felon, robber, recidivist criminal, and he gets shot in the middle of committing a felony, and then you go out in public to complain that little Jimmy Scumbag shouldn't have just been shot for robbing people, You are a douche nozzle. So congratulations to the family of Jimmy Scumbag over in Alabama, and go team to our concealed carry holder over there. Moving right along, and we like to keep the pace going here. What are we going to talk about next?
Next, we've got one of our listeners actually sent this in to us, and it's about a Minnesota. I believe it's Minnesota. Let me double check just to make sure. It is Minnesota. There's a high school that has a trap team.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they've got a trap team that they just started up, and it is growing exponentially, which is a go team moment. Because why?
Well, we appreciate that fact, and that they are teaching these kids that actually, according to the website, there is a MinnesotaClayTargets.com website, and Minnesota State High School has a Clay Targets League where these kids from different high schools can compete against each other. So fantastic, go team. And one of their statistics is they said that trap and skeet shooting is one of the fastest growing sports in high school, among high school kids. Well, that doesn't surprise us, does it, Jared?
No, it does not. You know why?
Why?
Because we have been a part of 4-H shooting sports for some time now, and we know that the firearms shooting side of 4-H is the fastest growing part.
Absolutely, absolutely. The 4-H shooting sports program is the number one, hands down, fastest growing aspect of 4-H in the United States of America today. And amongst those, there is the shotgun shooting sports, which includes skeet and trap and sporting clays and so forth. And we've got a lot of great friends, a lot of adult volunteer instructors that we're really good friends with. And if you're hip and you watch Student of the Gun, if you watch the TV show, you got to see us hanging out with some of our favorite gun golfers here recently. So if you have the opportunity to support a youth shooting sports program, and let me tell you what, you guys know what? If you're listening to the sound of my voice at this moment in time, write it down, this moment in time, you do have the opportunity to support youth shooting sports. And you're like, what? How do I have that opportunity, Paul? Well, I'm glad that you asked me that, because I'm going to hip you to it right now. The folks at Midway USA founded the Midway USA Foundation, and it's a not-for-profit foundation. And it's specifically designed to assist and aid all these youth shooting sports programs throughout the United States. And one of those programs is the 4-H shooting sports program. We, and especially at this time of the year, when you're feeling generous, you're feeling warm and fuzzy inside, and you're thinking to yourself, I wish that I could follow Paul's advice, and I wish I could help out those kids. Because and whether it's the Minnesota Sporting Clays thing, or if it's 4-H shooting sports, or if it's your local team, you might want to go ahead and check out Midway USA Foundation. You might want to check out their website. And Jared, for the last 2-3 weeks, he's put the link up on studentofthegunradio.com. You just click on the link and follow it. If you may have a team in your area that you want to support, and if there isn't one, we would highly suggest that you take a moment to consider. I mean, even if you can only, let's say, all right, it's Christmas time. Could you donate $10 to help the 4-H shooting sports program? Because these programs are they're manned by volunteers. They're staffed by volunteers. The instructors don't get paid a dime. The reason that the kids can go to these camps is because they deliberately keep the cost of the camps low. And the only way that they're able to keep the cost low is because they get support from people in the community, people in the shooting sports world, folks like you. And now is the time when they're kind of, building up their stock for the coming season. Because in the winter, most of the time they kind of slow down, and they do repairs, and they figure out what they're going to do. And then once the spring hits, they're going all from the spring all the way through the fall. So if you could find it in your heart this Christmas season, donate $10, donate $20. You have $20 you could donate to the 4-H shooting sports program. I bet you do. Now, before I go, I'm going to tell you one more super cool thing that they're doing. If you donate whatever, $10, $20, $50, whatever you donate, the Larry and Brenda Potterfield at Midway USA, they will match your donation times 2. So you donate, let's say you can find it in your heart to donate $20. So you do that. Larry and Brenda will donate $40 on top of your 20. So anything that, think about it like this. Anything that you give them, it's like multiplying it by 3. So you give them 20, they give 40, so the program gets $60 to buy ammunition or equipment or upkeep on the camps or whatever you call it. So that's a fantastic thing. It's something that we strongly support here at Student of the Gun. We've been trying to help these kids out, help these volunteer instructors out, because look, right now in the United States of America, you can either support the kids and you can help them become productive adults, or you can take the opposite tact, like all the hippie liberals, and you can help these kids or teach these kids to be helpless and to be wards of the state. What do we want? Do we want productive adults, or do we want more wards of the state? You decide. All right. Now, and go team up to all our trap and skeet shooting guys up there in Minnesota.
This next story, we could name it Shame on You, Georgia, I guess you'd say.
Oh, yeah, this is crazy. This is a story from Bizarro Land. And apparently this has been going on for a while, but the actual incident happened a while back. But the reason we became aware of it is this gentleman has had to file a lawsuit to try and retain his rights as a citizen. And you're like, all right, you got my interest piqued. Now, this comes to us from WSBTV.com. And as the story goes, a local businessman is outraged after being thrown in jail and having his concealed carry gun confiscated by police officers in DeKalb County, Georgia. And you're like, well, what did he do wrong, Paul? He must have been doing something wrong. I mean, because people don't get arrested and put in jail and have their property taken unless they were doing something wrong. Yeah. What he was doing wrong is he is a business owner. He's a small business owner, and he owns an unclaimed freight and furniture store. And apparently where his store is, where his business is, unfortunately, they have problems with vagrancy and so forth. Well, he was at his store one evening, and there were a bunch of vagrant, drunk-type people hanging out around his store. Well, the police had been called for like a noise complaint and so forth. He comes out there. The police show up. He goes out because there's noise outside. He's outside. The police pull up, and they grab everybody, essentially. They put cuffs on everybody. They find out that he's got a gun. They confiscate his gun. They arrest him and take him to jail. You're like, what? The guy who owns the business is standing out in front of the business he owns, lawfully carrying a firearm, because apparently there are some nefarious characters in this neighborhood. And his reward for such is to be arrested and have his firearm taken. Now, they charged him with apparently disorderly conduct because they said they smelled alcohol. And he said, yeah, of course you smelled alcohol, because all the vagrant turds that were out there were all drunk on, I don't know, Mad Dog or freaking antifreeze or whatever. Well, the case goes to court, and the judge immediately sees that it's a bunch of BS. He dismisses the case and apologizes to the business owner. Okay, great. So you're thinking, okay, he dismisses the charges, no charges against him. He apologizes to the business owner and says, we apologize. It should never happened. Go free. And so you're thinking, as a reasonable person out there in America, well, the police department in this case apologized to the man and returned his gun to him. That is where you would be wrong. They have not yet, as of airtime, returned the firearm to this gentleman, and he is having to sue them to recover his property. They're like, you're scratching your head out there. I'm scratching my head too. So there's a bogus arrest. This guy, in fact, could be considered the victim in the case. So the victim in the case, the guy whose property it was, who had drunk vagrants on his property, he gets tagged, he gets arrested, he gets put in jail, he gets his property seized, his lawfully owned property. Remember, a firearm is your lawfully owned property. Unless you live in New York or Illinois, you don't have to get permission. Okay, or Massachusetts, sorry, didn't mean to leave you guys out. You don't have to get permission from the state to own a gun. You don't have to get a special little permission card that says little Johnny's allowed to own a gun until we say he can't. So what is so hard with this the administration of this police agency in saying, our bad, we were wrong, here's your gun back? Well, apparently in America today, we have bureaucrats that populate, and I know we do, the offices of chief, assistant chief, deputy inspector, and so forth. They've dug their heels in, and for whatever reason, they've decided they're just going to retain this man's lawfully owned property. Now, if I come to your house and I take your lawfully owned property, I become a felon. I become a criminal. But apparently, in the United States of America today, if the state takes your property and withholds it from you unlawfully, it's just too bad, go pound sand. Now, here's a little thing that I happen to know. In the United States of America, now statutes vary from state to state, but I can tell you this, when I went through the police academy, that's right, I went through the police academy and I graduated first in my class. So for those of you that are out there taking notes, you can write that down on your notes, because I know some of you are out there taking notes. Graduated first in my class. That's right, highest academic average. That's just for you special guys out there taking notes. But one thing that I learned is that if you, as a police officer, violate the law while you are acting as a police officer, it is an additional charge because, and rightly so, it is viewed that you are violating the trust that you have been given by the people by abusing your office. Now, it seems to me that if you take someone's lawfully owned property, which happens to be a gun in this case, and it turns out that it was done so wrongfully, and you don't give it back to them with an apology, that you are violating the trust of the people that put you there. Does it not seem like that to you? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have different laws in Georgia, and in Georgia, apparently, there are certain police agencies that can take your property, seize it, and even though they're wrong, can tell you to go pound sand, and it's just too bad. So we're going to wait and see how that one shakes out. But right now, this guy's had to hire an attorney. He's filing suit against the city and the police department. And from everything that we've seen, all you need to know is that the judge dismissed the charges and apologized to the guy. That's all you need to know. There really is no more. He was not convicted of a crime. Therefore, his property, that whole pesky, we keep coming back to that whole Bill of Rights, Fourth Amendment thing, shall not be deprived of property without due process of law. Well, yeah, that was old America. I know, that was old America. So, we have to be more hip and more modern and understand that, that whole pesky Bill of Rights, that's just a thing that gets in the way. Now, we want to talk about a little story from our friends over across the pond. That's right. And for some reason, there we go. Now, those of you, we're going to go a little international on you guys now. We'll do a little international man of mystery thing here.
We're going to go intergalactic for you.
I don't know if are we going to go intergalactic?
Intergalactic planetary.
Intergalactic planetary.
Well, the next story we've got here, the headline says, 10 years for thug who clubbed his neighbors. It's spelled wrong or right over there.
Neighbors.
Yeah, who clubbed his neighbors with baseball bat over fence row. Yeah,
it seems that this was in merry old England, and this comes to us from the express.co.uk. And apparently a member or a follower of the religion of peace, thanks, George, for giving us that, a follower of the religion of peace decided that he didn't like, his name was Mohammed Shafiq, Mohammed Shafiq, didn't like where the fence row was with his neighbor. And this is it's crazy. There's a picture of the neighbor, and it's a man and a woman, and you're like, oh, well, they're husband and wife. No, they're partners, because apparently in England we don't refer to people as husbands and wives or girlfriends and boyfriends, because that's just impolite. It makes assumptions. It says they're partners. Well, now Mr. Shafiq here went and grabbed himself a baseball bat after arguing, came out and proceeded to beat the man, Mr. Stan Foster, about the Head and Shoulders. And according to the story, he's now permanently or semi-permanently disabled, cannot use his left arm and so forth. And he gets a grand total of 10 years for felonious assault and crippling this guy. You said, well, yeah, Paul, but people get attacked all the time, and it's really no big deal. But what's neat about this story, or unique about this story, is think about it. Here in free America, if your neighbor goes and gets a bat and decides that he's going to beat you about the head and shoulders and cripple you, what we do is we do a little lead injection, and you stop them from doing that. But in merry old England, where the people have been all but completely disarmed and turned into tax slaves, what you say is, mother, may I, and can I have another? And that's pretty much what it is. And it said, quote, it's a miracle that Stan is still alive after the beating he received with the ball bat. So in merry old England, if your neighbor is a member of the religion of peace and decides he's going to beat you with a bat, your recourse is to just lay there and take it. And we're sorry for that, but you live with the choices you make. And those are those are the choices that they have made over there in merry old England, which is why my great grandfather left Scotland because of the English oppression and came to the United States of America, joined General Washington's army, became a Pennsylvania rifleman, and during the American Revolution, he shot them. So there's that. What are we going to do next, Jared?
Next, we've got a story that actually, another one that came from one of our listeners. Mike actually gave us this one. The title says, Obama pushing shooters off public. Oh, sorry, I said the O word.
Oh, it's Comrade Barry, the artist formerly known as Barry Soetoro.
Okay, the artist formerly known as Barry Soetoro is pushing shooters off of public land, and I'm guessing that this is part of the little gun control tactics that is not really working, but he wants it to work. So,
well, this story comes to us from the usnews.com. usnews.com says gun owners who've been historically able to use public lands for target practice would be barred from using potentially millions of new acres under the new rules drafted by the Interior Department. And we're going to go ahead and put this up for you guys. But know this, if you are a gun person, what we've got is, remember we talked about that whole King's Deer and the King's Mountains and the King's Trees and the King's Land? In the United States of America, what has happened is the federal government has taken your money, my money, all of our collective money, and they've bought, purchased, segregated off land, and they call it public land. But it's not really public land. It's land that you're only allowed to use if the king gives you permission to use it. And brother, don't you fail to get permission from the king, because if you do, the sheriff is going to come and get you. And according to this story, they're going to just adjust the rules a little bit to prohibit public land from being used for shooting and target practice and so forth. And this isn't a huge story. This really is, it's kind of one of those par for the course things. It's like you see a story like this and the initial thought is to get outraged, but really, why are you outraged? That's like when a rabid dog bites you, getting angry over the rabid dog biting you. What did you expect the rabid dog to do? And in the United States of America right now, we're being segregated into a ruling elitist class and a peasant class. And the ruling class has decided that this land is off limits to the peasants unless we give you special permission, peasants, to use it. It's kind of like historically, you young kids, you young little turkeys that are wet behind the ears still, don't remember the blossoming of all the people's republics across the globe. And the great irony that I learned in social studies when I was in 9th grade was that every country that had the word peoples or the peoples or whatever in the title was the most oppressive and restrictive country that you could possibly live in. And so when we say, well, it's public land, you find that, quote unquote, public land has greater restrictions for its use than any other land out there. And if you don't think we've fallen into a king's deer situation in the United States, you need to pay a little closer attention to what's going on in America right now. But thank you guys for sending that in. And you guys are always, you do a fantastic job. You do a fantastic job sending us stories, posting Facebook messages, sending us emails, giving us little hints at, hey, did you see this? Or did you know this was going on? And often, I'm going to admit something to you. I told you that I'm rather contrary by nature. I don't just grab onto every fad, and I'm sorry, but I can't watch every single video that's posted on Facebook or what have you. And I will admit that usually I won't watch it until 4 or 5 of my friends have posted it. And then, by the 6th one, I'm like, okay, 6 of my friends have put a clip or a link to this video or this story. I should probably go ahead and read it. But you guys are doing a fantastic job out there. You are the student of the gun, eyes and ears. And why is that? Because you are a student and you have your mind open. Now, I know some of you out there, I know some of you are contrary and that you just listen to this to try and catch me slipping up. And that's cool. We're just glad you're here. And we hope that in some small way we can provide you with the service. Now, Jared, go ahead and tell me what story we want to talk about next.
The next one I don't know what is wrong with school systems in Tennessee, but they seem to be not favoring the parents recently for some reason. I don't know what's going on up there. This dude didn't answer his phone in time to pick up his sick daughter, so they called the DCS, sorry about that. The DCS on him. What does DCS stand for exactly?
Department of Child Services.
There you go.
Okay. Child Services, all of you reasonable people out there know the name. When you hear it, you're like, well, Child Services is a very, very important organization, and they provide a very valuable service because, when they find children that are covered in lice and dog bites and malnourished and living in the homes of crack, manufacturers, they go in, they protect, and they rescue these children. And it's a very important thing. And you're like, okay. So what was this guy's crime? Well, guy was at home, and how old was his daughter? I think she was like 11 or something like that. I'm looking at the story. This comes to us from Fox19.com. So his daughter got sick, and by sick, she vomited. Kids vomit. They puke all the time. Just go to an elementary school. Them kids are always puking. That's why the janitor has that cool pink sawdust stuff that he pours on it, right? How many of you remember that? How many of you took a bus to school when you were in junior high and the bus drivers all had a big bag of that funky sawdust that they could pour on puke so they could sweep it up? You remember. Don't give me the face. Don't make that funky face that you're making there. So anyway, this guy's daughter gets sick, and they call him. They're like, well, he doesn't answer the phone. What? He's obviously an abusive father. So and he misses the call. So instead of like, all right, well, let's call him back or do it again, they call Child Services. They call the Department of Children's Services to report this child. And you're like, what? A kid goes to school and gets sick. They call the parent. Parent's not available for whatever reason to answer the phone. So what do? So your next step is to call DCS. And what are you reporting? this guy is a bad father. But yeah, so now this guy has a child services report filed with his name on it. And let me tell you what, I'm going back to my copping days there, and I know you guys out there would like to hear about that. But as a citizen, the last thing you want, or as a parent, not as a citizen, is a report filed on you by DCS or Department of Children's Services, because then what you fall into the immediately suspect column. And this happened in it says Estill Springs, Tennessee, and we're wondering. And of course, the school, when they called them on it, when the Channel 4 news team called them on it, they're like, "Oh, no, that's not part of our policy. It's only part of our policy to contact them if we feel the child is in danger of physical harm." So the 10-year-old gets sick and pukes, and now they're in danger of physical harm, and they got to call child services and report on this case and start in. And here's how child services works. When they get a report on something, they don't just say, okay, no big deal. They begin an investigation. An investigation is begun. And, whatever happened to some little tiny, small smidgen of common freaking sense? Lord in heaven, I can't even imagine where we're headed. Well, I know where we're headed. I know exactly where we're headed. We're headed down a path of the children belong to the state, and you're just allowed to feed and clothe and house them as long as we tell you it's okay. But in the end, the state is in charge of everything you say and do. Jared, you want to talk about vagination?
Yeah, let's talk about some that was a vagination report, wasn't it?
Okay. Whoop. That was a vagination report. That was like an intro to the vagination report. It wasn't too super huge vagination. That was more of like a slave state thing. But I guess it's kind of a toss-up.
Yeah. Well, let's go into this next one. Jerry from Texas sent this one in, and we actually have a lot of stories coming in from you guys, and it's awesome. We appreciate it. This kind of made my blood boil. It's a pretty long story to read, and as I read it, I got more angry and more angry and more angry. It's just hypocrisy. Sorry, easy for me to say. But anyway, this is a new front in the gun control war, since we have one of those going on.
Yeah, apparently it says, according to the Huffington Post, and according to their, they have a eunuch that writes for him. His name is Ben Hallman. And what we found here, Jared, we found that there are a lot of eunuchs that populate the ranks of the what do we want to say, freelance writers and freelance. There's a lot of eunuchs in their ranks, and we're going to go ahead and address this right now, because let's go ahead and talk about it. We all know about these. Mothers for Sensible.
No, we don't say this name.
No.
See that on the show notes? It says no.
Okay. Wow, Jared kind of jumped on me and hurt my feelings. I'm going to call child services. I'm going to call child services right now and report that you hurt my feelings.
You call the ones in Tennessee, because they'll actually care.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, Jared's got copious. I'm reading the show notes, and the show notes are like
half a page.
Yeah, there are half a page of show notes here.
Single spaced even.
Single spaced.
Do you want to know why?
Tell me why.
Because American Airlines made me wait for 4 hours to pick you up, so I had a little bit of time to read the story.
Yeah. So Jared. But essentially, it's no different than has been going on in the United States of America for actually generations, going all the way back to the Save the Whales and the Peace Love Dope and well, now we have another cause, and we are so prosperous in the United States of America, even today, with as crappy of an economy as we have today, thanks to the artist formerly known as Barry Soetoro. Even as bad as it is, we still have suburban moms that have all this time on their hands, and whether it's Save the Whales or, then it was save the whales first. Then it was save the dolphins by not eating, by only eating dolphin safe tuna.
So now it should be save the guns, right?
Yep. And so, and then we had, now when you got your global warming thing, and then you've got whatever cause makes you feel fulfilled. Because there's this little empty hole in your life where you have all this time on. Our grandmothers didn't have this kind of time to protest stuff. You know why? Because they were raising their families and they were busting their butts every single day to provide for their families, to ensure that their children had clothing and food and shelter, warm meals. They didn't have time to form social protest groups. But here in the United States of America, we have suburban mommies, soccer mommies, that have so much time on their hands because, hey, who's raising their kids? Well, the nannies are raising their kids, or the daycare is raising their kids, or the public school system is raising their kids. So they got lots of time to be offended. And Lord knows that the suburban mom has all kinds of time to be offended. Well, what are we offended about today, Jared?
This actually stems from an instance in a local shopping mall where a Staples employee heard a loud bang and then a woman cry for help. And what had happened was the woman's child had access to her firearm that was in her purse, and she was trying to keep it away from the child, and it accidentally discharged. Or I guess that would be negligence. But it stems from that, and basically what this group is trying to do is that, quote, their goal is pressuring local businesses, especially national chains, to ban guns. And they cite the example of Starbucks, which they said that was a victory for them because Starbucks has banned guns. Well, one, that's not true, because all Starbucks did was ask the gun owners not to bring their guns in.
Not to open carry.
Yeah, they didn't post any signs. But anyway, so that's their goal, is pressuring local businesses, especially national chains, to ban guns. And why does that make me mad? You want to know why? Do you know why?
Why does it make you mad, Jared? You seem to be a little bit exercised today. I think you need to, just deep breath and kumbaya, and it'll all be okay. Do you want me to make you some chamomile tea so you feel better? Can
you do that for me?
Okay. I don't know if we have any chamomile tea.
You could bring me a beer. That would be nice.
Oh,
am I allowed to say that? It's pumpkin beer.
Oh, okay. Well, there. You just lost man points for that, but rock on. It's seasonal.
Yeah, it's seasonal, like Cupcake over there at Vertex. But anyway, that's beside the point.
Jeez. All right, we went all the way around the world, and now we're back. So now we're back, and Jared's going to tell us why he's just a little bit exercised by this story.
Well, I'm very annoyed by this because their goal is pressuring local businesses, especially national chains, to ban guns. That's a direct quote, if I didn't mention that before. And what about the pro-gun groups that did that exact thing? I don't know, 2 months ago? A month ago? I don't know how long ago. But anyway, they did that. Well, they're getting demonized by these exact same people.
How dare you try and pressure people to let you carry guns? Exactly.
So why is it okay for them to pressure the local businesses, especially national chains, to ban guns?
Well, to pay homage to one of my favorite radio show hosts, Michael Savage, liberalism is a mental disease. And that is a perfect quote. And if this is the first time you're hearing it, you need to pay better attention. But when Savage says liberalism is a mental disease, he's not being glib. He's spot on. You say, how is it that people can protest one thing while doing that same thing? Well, because they justify it in their brains. Even Ted Bundy. Okay, he's dead now. He's been dead for a while, but he was a mass murderer. Even the guy who dressed up like a clown and murdered kids and so forth. Even serial killers justify their actions in their own mind. That's essentially how the human animal works. Is, you know, the human animal justifies its behavior in its own mind. Those that, you know, the people that worked for the Stasi and the Gestapo and so on, they justified that in their own minds. Now, I'm not saying no that these suburban moms are the Stasi, but what I'm saying is, you know, Jerry, you're like, how can they complain that someone is doing the same thing as them and that it's wrong and they shouldn't, but it's okay for them to do it? Because, well, first of all, we have this weird upside down reasonableness disease in the United States where analytical thinking is out and emotional thinking is in. And unfortunately, I know we have a lot of women in this, and not unfortunately, we have women in the audience, but unfortunately, women have a tendency to view things strictly from an emotional basis. Ask any professional ad salesperson, marketing person. Women make purchases based on emotions, on how the ad or the product or whatever, the marketing campaign, on how it makes them feel. Not on whether or not it's the best product because it was gone through 57 different tests. Women buy stuff based upon how they feel. Women vote based upon how they feel. And women protest against guns based upon how they feel or how it makes them feel. Now, it's not just women. There are men that do that as well. But what we know is, despite the fact that, and we could pull the statistics if you want to talk about statistics, that tens of thousands of crimes and felonies are halted, prevented, and stopped every single year in the United States of America by the presence and use of a firearm. Tens of thousands. And you're like, well, how can that be, Paul? It's not on the news. No, because it's not news, because it doesn't fit into the template. If someone uses a gun without firing a shot, if they stop someone from breaking into their home, from robbing them, from raping them, just by holding a gun, pointing it at the bad person and saying stop, that doesn't make the news. Because that's not what news people want. That's not sensational. It doesn't fit the template. And so, despite the fact that you can pull, you know, police blotters and reports and come up with case after case after case, I'll give you a great example. Well, we just talked about it. This week we talked about the guy that shot the felon. Guy's in the middle of robbing a Family Dollar store. Shoots that guy. Boom, he's down. Okay. Was it last week or the week before that? I think it was last week. We talked about the guy. Two scumbags go into a mom and pop grocery store, terrorize the people, rob it, come running out, and they're like, "What are you looking at?" And it's a guy who has a lawfully owned concealed carry pistol, and he says, "What I'm looking at is two people I'm looking at two dead men. Pa-pow, pa-pow. They're room temperature worm food." Okay, go team, good guy. Now, ask yourself this. Besides Student of the Gun, where did you hear about that? Was that the lead story on Fox News? Was that the lead story on MSNBC nationwide? Lawful citizen protects others with firearm? No. Go the opposite direction. Same thing happens, two people die, but rather than two felons being shot for being scumbag felons, someone takes a gun into a shopping mall and shoots two innocent people. That's the lead story on every single news network, every single night for the whole week. We're going to talk about that. We're going to wring our hands. We're going to say, what are we going to do? Are any politicians holding special sessions right now to say, what are we going to do about all these armed robbers that are robbing mom and pop grocery stores? What are we going to do? What legislation are we going to pass to stop people from robbing the Family Dollar? We have to stop this. It's an epidemic. No, they're not. And why are they not? Because that doesn't fit the template. And guess what? You're like, you smart ones out there, you know where I'm about to go, but I'm going to go there anyway. You're going to say, but Paul, it's already illegal to use a gun and to rob a store. It's called armed robbery. It's already illegal to use a gun and rob a person or shoot a person out on the street. It's called felonious assault or attempted murder. What? You mean there's already laws? You mean to tell me that in Pennsylvania, when those two scuzzballs walked into the mom and pop grocery store that had already been robbed, what, 3 times, Jared? 2 or 3 before that. Stick it up, terrorize the employees, rob them. When they did that, there was already a law against robbing grocery stores? Now, hang on. Stop. I'm going to have to stop for a second. So there was already a law in place that it was a felony to rob a grocery store, but it happened anyway.
How does that work? I don't quite understand.
I can't. No, I'm trying to wrap my brain around this.
You mean criminals don't follow the law?
So, well, if it's a felony to walk into a store, use a gun to terrorize, rob, and kill people in the store, and yet it still happens, how is it that posting a little plastic sign on the door that says no firearms allowed, how is it that that is going to stop bad people from doing bad things? I'm not getting this here.
This actually, that statement leads directly into this dumb quote. It's very ignorant. It comes from ignorance and misinformation. This quote does. And it says, the quote from the story says, or I think one of these ladies said it, they can side with the gun lobby, they as in the stores, or they can choose to protect their customers. What? How? What?
So plastic signs. So the answer is more plastic signs. There are not enough plastic signs and stickers in the world. That's what we got going right now, Jared. I think is that what they're saying? Because apparently when they say protect, that is an act. That is an active statement. So when you're protecting someone, what are you using to protect them?
A force field?
Do we have that technology now to put force fields around humans that protect them? Or
so we don't use force fields?
I don't know. We don't.
I'm gonna go.
I don't think we have tractor beams yet.
I'm gonna go with answer B. How about with firearms?
No, you cannot protect people with firearms. Don't you know? What are you? Are you one of those crazy gun lobby people that thinks that good people that people should have guns to protect themselves?
How about answer D? All of the above.
So what all these chicks here, what all these bored suburbanite chicks are doing, and you know, posing for pictures and, you know, oh, aren't you good? No, you're good. Let's go have coffee at Starbucks. Oh, we're so awesome. Because no one carries guns in Starbucks anymore because they banned them. They didn't really. If you read that non-committal letter from Starbucks, they didn't ban guns. They just asked that you don't bring them in.
And you know why they did that? Why? This is completely off this story.
We're going to go around the world again.
Just real quick. It's because all of these pro-gun owners that don't carry in the first place or carry with an empty chamber, they took their ARs.
Yeah, all right.
Open carry.
We didn't know. I'm going to admit something that I had no idea or inkling that some people out there had gone bat excrement crazy and decided that it would be a good idea to go to Starbucks with their SKS slung over their backs. First of all, that's stupid. Really? Do you do that on a normal basis? When you go grocery shopping, you go to Walmart, you go to the whatever, you take your wife out for an evening on the town. Do you strap your SKS or your Mossberg 500 over your shoulder to do that? Well, no, of course I don't, because it wouldn't be practical. It wouldn't. And you're a dope. And you people that did that made the rest of us look stupid. So stop doing stupid things like that. Do I think when I say open carry, I'm not talking about taking an unloaded SKS and strapping it over your back and walking into a coffee shop like you're some kind of hero. No, I'm talking about actually carrying a loaded firearm on your person every day as a part of your self-defense plan. Not grandstanding, not taking your buddy into the coffee shop and posing with your Mossberg 500, which happens to be empty because that's the only way that you'll carry it. That is stupidness. And I know we kind of went off track and around the world here, but we are back.
Yeah, you're a little animated over there now. But anyway, so I kind of wanted to use this story as, to give you guys some tips and tricks and advice on how to carry to stop things like your child getting your firearm or
that's a good point.
Because why did this child get this woman's firearm?
Well,
why
it
did
didn't
he have
say that
access?
in the story. It said she was because when I read the story, I'm not sure if the kid had her purse, was getting into her purse.
But what I'm saying is, why was the child, the 2-year-old, able to get to it?
Or why was she afraid that the kid would be able to get to it?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I want Dad over here to give you guys some tips on proper carry techniques if you're going to carry in your pocket or in a compartment in your purse or anything like that.
Okay, yeah, that is a really good point that Jared brings up. And first of all, we don't carry naked guns. Now, what do I mean by that? We don't buy pocket 380s and 38 special snub noses and just drop them loose. Ladies, if you're taking a 38 snub nose and dropping it loose into your purse, you're wrong. You're asking for trouble. You're asking for a negligent discharge. And when you put your finger in the trigger and the thing goes kaboom, it's not an accident. It's you pressing the trigger when you shouldn't have, and it's negligence. Guys, all you guys out there buy these pocket 380s and just drop them into your front pocket, bad juju. Spend the $12.48 and buy a pocket scabbard. Tough Products, even though they don't sponsor the show, I'm going to give them a free one. You're welcome. Tough Products makes what they call the pocket Roo, a fantastic, and literally, I think they're less than $15.
Yeah, I think I bought one for, like you said, like $12.99 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
But they keep the gun from printing. They keep things like change and keys and your fingers from accidentally or negligently getting into the trigger guard. You should never ever be carrying. You're asking for a negligent discharge. If you're carrying a handgun, it should be enclosed in something that will wrap around the trigger so that it doesn't go bang until you want it to go bang. And which brings us up to a great point, Jared. Right now, Crossbreed Holsters, and I just saw the press release on this about a week ago, and I didn't mention it yet, so shame on me. Crossbreed Holsters actually has a new device that is, how the bedside backup. If you guys don't know about the bedside backup, you should check it out at crossbreedholsters.com. But they have a new device for women for purse carry, and it secures your concealed carry pistol in a holster. It's one of their, Kydex, kind of holsters, and it has a stiff backing that you can put into your purse, and the gun always stays in the same place. The trigger guard is covered, and it doesn't flop around. So I'm a jerk for not knowing the exact name of the product right now, but I do know this. If you go to crossbreedholsters.com, you can check it out. So ladies, if you're looking for some kind of an option, it's never really a great idea to have a gun not secured to your body, because if it's not secured to your body, guess what? It's not secured to your body.
Yeah. Say, okay, you're a woman. You have your pistol in your purse. What is the first thing that is going to be taken from you by a robber? Well, not only that, but and that's the extreme case, but what about the normal day-to-day case? What about you set your purse down in the shopping cart? You set your purse down in the shopping cart, and you're with your kids, and your kid screams. You see someone bad, you run to help your kid. Now you're 20 feet away from the shopping cart. Where's your gun? Oh, it's in the shopping cart, or it's underneath the table, or whatever. But
do what you want to do, live your life like you want to live it, but we all have choices to make, and make intelligent choices if at all possible.
And that's going to wrap us up. We went a little bit over time this time, but
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, but we like to give you guys information and advice. So with that, I'm going to give it over to Dad so he can get
Jared gave me the little signal. He says, we do talk a lot about armed living and concealed carry and so forth. And, we could spend an entire hour or more specifically just talking about concealed carry, about holster choice, about all that good stuff. But shameless plug, Jared, give us a shameless plug for that little thing that you can purchase, and it gives you all that information.
You can get our Armed Living DVD at studentofthegungear.com. And we're not just trying to sell it because we make money off of it. We really legitimately believe that the information that is included in that DVD can help save your life and the lives of your family, your friends, your loved ones, those people that you wake up and see every morning and go to bed and see every night.
So it's the how, when, and what now of justifiable use of force. We want to thank our buddies at Keltec Weapons, KeltecWeapons.com. Colt, our newest sponsor. Thank you, Colt, for being on with us. Our good buddies at Crossbreed, and we just talked about them. And XS Sights, the fastest sight in any light. Now, don't forget to check out the show, Dish Network, channel 266, Sunday nights at 7 p.m., and also on Shentel Cable. If you don't have any of those, where are you going to go? You're going to go to studentofthegun.com, watch the show for free, read the articles, listen to the show. All that good jazz is available right at your fingertips. Now, remember, you're a beginner once, but you should be a student for life.